Hi there. I've been thinking. It's a strange thing, this quest of a man to find a woman and a woman to find a man. It's not strange at all at one level, of course. Like all living creatures, we have an inner imperative to reproduce, to pass on copies of our precious little packages of DNA. But the quest for emotional intimacy, for someone with whom, at least ideally, we can spend the rest of our life, is a strange and tortuous one. I suspect, although I don't have the socio historical evidence to back this up, but I suspect that the ideal of romantic love that so often accompanies this quest is a very modern one. And I wonder where it came from. What need does it fill? What evolutionary or societal need does it fill? What is the loss for which it attempts to compensate? When we're young, our personalities and values are often not yet fully formed. Our ambitions and wishes are only vaguely outlined as we enter into this partnership, which is supposedly for life. There's an upside and a downside to this. The upside is that the man and the woman, the man and the man and the woman, being not yet fully formed, help to form each other. They shape each other. They're still malleable enough to mold their lives and personalities around each other. Of course, mistakes can be made, but there's still plenty of time to correct those mistakes. The downside, though, is that the two people's personalities, beliefs, goals, and values can begin to diverge as they take shape, as the people grow older. What seemed a good fit 10 years ago no longer is. There are, of course, many reasons why a relationship might not endure, but this is surely one of them. I think we should note that this is not necessarily a bad thing. Religious convictions aside, perhaps men and women have not, in fact, evolved to remain in a single lifelong relationship. Although perhaps there are also some gender differences with respect to this. Perhaps it's the persistent illusion or myth that this is the case which makes failure so much more difficult. Now, I don't intend to belittle the emotional, psychological, and economic consequences of the end of such a relationship for both the couple themselves and for any children involved in the family relationships. Nevertheless, I think that the myth maybe doesn't help the process particularly. Despite these initial failures, the quest for a partnership continues. Perhaps men are more prone to launch themselves hastily into this pursuit than women are. That's my impression, anyway. I think perhaps there's more of a biological imperative for men in the sense that men continue to be reproductively viable, if you like, much later in life than women are. And they retain this desire, this need to perpetuate their genetic line. I think if you were to take the children of, say, Rod Stewart and Mick Jagger together, you'd probably have enough to populate a small country. But as people enter midlife, there are additional problems in trying to form relationships. As often as not, we're now dealing with people whose personalities are very well formed, even hardened and solidified to some extent. Lifestyles, goals, beliefs, and values are all now more or less set in concrete. Each individual is now used to their own space, they have their own habits and quirks, and in general, their lives are very busy. So now we have the problem of trying to fit together two solid objects with hardened edges and without a great deal of space or time in which to do so. Now there's no moulding and shaping. Pretty soon, these edges will clash and there'll be breakages. I don't have any suggestions to offer about how to deal with this issue. I only wish to emphasize here that it is an issue and that people who are seeking a relationship may not always recognize this or be honest enough to acknowledge it. So the problems of forming a relationship don't go away or even diminish as we grow older. If anything, they get more difficult. The desire for a relationship doesn't seem to go away or diminish. Does the type of relationship that we're seeking change? Perhaps, but that's another story. Why not think about it?